Let's try that again. Welcome again back to another episode of the Illini cast. Some of you watched us attempt to live stream this a little bit earlier, and we ran into a glitch with the software that we use to record these things. It happens. We were about 6, 7 minutes in, but we're not going to worry too much about it. This episode's what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the Illinois first round matchup against Morehead State, which is going to be on Thursday at 2:10 p.m. Central. And in the process of scouting for this game, I decided that I could do all the game watching, tape watching myself, or I can find someone smarter, more handsome, who's already done the work. And I decided to go that route. So I'm going to welcome Joe Jackson to the show. Joe, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate the intro too. But I'm excited to talk hoops, give this another try, and hopefully nothing glitches out this time.
Yeah, appreciate your patience again. Joe, can you let the audience know where they can find you?
Yeah, so a lot of my Twitter film breakdowns are at Joe Jackson CBB. That is my Twitter handle. But then a lot of my longer length film breakdowns are on my YouTube called Feed the Post. It is a lot of like film oriented scouting report. Just trying to dive deep into like the X's and O's and kind of what's going on within the game.
Perfect. And I'll put the links to Joe's videos and YouTube page in the description once this is up. It's one of my go tos. I've been subscribed for a while. You really get to learn a lot about the sport just by watching his videos. And once I saw that he had already posted an Illinois and Morehead preview, I pretty much reached out to him immediately, and thankfully he had some time for me. Now, before we get into the preview itself, some of you guys are fans of Brad Underwood, some of you guys are not. Well, I'm excited to announce a new partnership with Wolverine Studios, where they're basically going to give away a free copy of Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2024. Take control and shape the destiny of your favorite college basketball team in Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2024. Experience the deepest and most realistic franchise mode where you build through your dynasty, through your strategic recruiting and coaching decisions. With fully customizable features, the game puts you in the driver's seat. Are you ready to make history today? Now, granted, I've been playing this game for a while, so once they reached out to me in order for a partnership, I was very excited. Basically, you just get to recruit your own players. You get to, you deal with the transfer portal. You do all the coaching. It's a game I highly recommend you guys check out. And again, details for all that will be left in the description. But me personally, I'm a big Brad Underwood guy, but we're now at the point where it's March and a lot of whispers come around the Illini program right around this time. And Joe, when I initially found out about the matchup with Morehead University, I've looked into it, and it seems to be kind of 50-50 on whether this was a good matchup or not. What say you?
I think in general this is a good matchup. In short, Illinois just has more talent. Sometimes it is as simple as that. In terms of like the actual matchup, though, the one area that Morehead State can give Illinois some trouble is that they shoot a ton of threes and they also slow the game down. So when you look at these potential big upsets like this, usually it's kind of two ways. It's one, you slow the game way down, or two, you speed the game way up. And if you slow the game down like Morehead State does, there's going to be fewer possessions, which means that, hey, if they just go on a hot streak really quick, that's going to be more likely that, hey, they can stick around. They're not the best. They're a solid shooting team. They're not like elite shooting the ball. They jack up a ton of them, and they do a very good job of. They run a lot of sets, whether it be pin downs or handoffs. Think similar kind of to think similar to the Northwestern style offense if Northwestern didn't have Boo Buie, if that makes any sense, of just like getting their shooters open and stuff like that. Obviously, Buie is a huge part of their offense. Um, but then on the defensive end, like I don't think Morehead State has an answer for Terrence Shannon really at all. They're going to play most likely a deep drop coverage against pick and rolls. And so what that means is the defender who is guarding the screener. So whether it be the guy guarding Hawkins or if Dange is in or whatever, that guy, he's going to be kind of just stationed closer to the rim and backing up towards the rim, just trying to keep the ball handler in front. Oftentimes that forces mid-range shots from the offense, but Terrence Shannon's just going to be like, I have 10 feet of space to work with, and I'm just going to probably dunk over people. Same thing with Domask. Like they're gonna have a little bit of a challenge, probably matching up size wise with him. They aren't like a super big team in general. They'll oftentimes their main guy Riley Minix. He's like a 6'7" forward who's a very good scorer. He'll sometimes play the five. He isn't a great defender, so I think as long as Illinois can kind of control the pace of this game and speed Morehead State a little bit up, they should be good. But it's March, 3 pointers go up, or Riley Minix goes for 30. Like anything can happen, obviously.
Yeah, this Riley Minix guy, his name keeps coming up, and I think I saw that he was the conference player of the year. And I mean, he's had some outstanding games this year. He's for the season averaging almost 21 points per game and about 10 rebounds. Can you give me a little scouting report on what Illini fans can expect to be seeing?
Yeah, so Riley Minix, he was an NAI transfer last. He was an NAI last year, All American transfers, and is the was the what conference are they in? They're in the Ohio Valley Conference. So he was Ohio Valley Conference Player of the Year. You mentioned the points per game numbers. He's a guy that he's going to do a lot of his work kind of in the high post, and so he's not like a Dane Danger or Edie or whatever, where he's going to try to catch at the block and go up. He can do that. Oftentimes, he's going to try to catch 15 feet out, kind of face up, and he's just going to jab and drive. He's really crafty with his footwork. He can also kind of step out and shoot. He's shooting 33% of the year on from three on good volume. So it's kind of at that number where it's like you got to respect it enough.
Yeah.
You're just hoping that he doesn't have one of those games where he hits like 5 of 7, right? It's not like the thing you're worried about the most, but just really, really good kind of in that mid range. He's also really, really good at the rim. And I know part of it when we especially is I'm working on a Purdue scouting report right now with the 16 seeds. It's like you have to take like their numbers or Morehead States with like a slight grain of salt because of who they play, right? They after the first few games, Morehead State didn't play anybody at Illinois' level. But Minnick shot 84% at the rim this year. Like that is, I don't know if it's the best in the country, but if it isn't, it is has to be right up there. So he's just going to try to dominate the paint, dominate at the rim, get the jumper going. Usually, yeah, he's not quite like a 3 level scorer in the fact that like I said, you respect the three, you're not like scared of the three, but everywhere else he can just kind of score the ball.
So would you imagine I'm looking at his size, would pretend you're Brad Underwood. Is
Mm.
that the guy you'd probably put, Shannon on to try to just kinda shut down offensively?
Um, that's interesting.
Mhm.
And obviously, it
Well,
depends on the lineup a little bit too. With their
sure.
starter lineup, because they do have a 7 footer that they'll play. I would assume Hawkins takes him. I could see Guerrier starting at first, at least, just because of the size that he has, and just trying to body him more of that mid post. But if Illinois goes to that more shooter lineup of where it's like the spaced out lineup where like Harmon's in and all that and Goody's in, then I could definitely see Shannon taking him a little bit. Um, but yeah, that's an interesting. I think I'm gonna go Guerrier for now,
Mhm.
especially because like they do have a couple guards that can score the ball in Jordan Lathan and Drew Thelwell. I wouldn't be shocked to see. I wouldn't be shocked to see Shannon get a crack at Lathon first.
Okay, I mean, that was basically my next question, let's just say Minix gets his. Who else is Illini gonna have to worry about?
Yeah, so Jordan Lathon's probably if Riley Minix is 1A, Lathon's probably 1B. He's kind of the perimeter counterpart of he can go create a bucket, he shoots well from 3. He's not super efficient inside the arc. I'm trying to find his numbers. He's okay. He can get to a pull up a little bit. He can kind of finish at the rim, but it's not like you're deathly scared of it. That's the main guy that they'll put the ball in his hands at times. Drew Thelwell is a guard that he's their true points, so he's more of a facilitator than scorer. But again, he can score if he needs to. It's not like he's incapable of that. And then Khalil Thomas, number 15, he's the guy that like if if I were to look at this game at halftime, right? Say I don't watch the first half, which obviously I will, but and it's like a tied game or a 2 point game, I would expect Khalil Thomas to have like three or four threes at that point. He cannot be left open. He is, he's 6'5". He's shooting 43.3% on the year. He's shot over 200 threes this season. He is the other guy that just like you don't have to worry about him too much on ball, right? He's not going to like catch and drive a ton. But they're going to set pin down screens. They're going to set all these sorts of different types of off ball actions to get him open three. So those are the three guys. Kind of all do different things on the perimeter for Morehead State, but those are the three guys besides Minix, and that's what makes Morehead State intriguing upset pick for people that are looking at that. Is just like they have all these guys that can go and score.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at their stat sheet right now, and their five leading scorers are all either guards or wings.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you kind of mentioned that they do have the 7 footer. What was his name? I just missed it.
Deontay Miles.
Deontay Miles. Yeah. Now, is this a game where you think, kind of like the Big Ten tournament was kind of like the coming out party for Dane Danger, for the Illini in particular? Do they have someone who, like, do you think this could be another Danger potential game, or do you think we kind of match up with them size wise? Because I mean, let's be honest. Coleman struggles against guys a lot bigger than him. But if Morehead State doesn't really have a weapon like that, then maybe he can kind of thrive just living, kind of at the 3 point line and doing what Coleman does best. What do you think Brad might do?
Yeah, I think it's also just going to depend on what Morehead State does. Morehead State has the capability of trying to go big. They have Deontay Miles at the 7 footer, Zach Yemi. I don't quite know how to. I think it's Yemi. He's a 6'9". He's kind of their other true big, but those are really their only true bigs. Then at times they go super small, where Minix is at the 5. I would expect, especially when Miles and Yemi are in, which they play, I think, combined like 25, 30 minutes a game, somewhere in that area. I would expect when they're in, that's when Danger could definitely come in. Neither of them are perimeter threats at all. Neither of them really are going to get the ball down low either. And Danger should be able to, in some aspects, at least kind of body both of them, I would think. When they do go Minix at the 5, it would be pretty much at that if Danger, because Danger would probably have to match up with Minix, it would just be daring Minix to shoot.
Yeah.
And I've already mentioned a couple times, you maybe you just live with what happens there, but I do think it'd be harder when they go small like that.
So overall, the vibes I get is, of course, being an Illinois fan, I tend to be a little nervous anytime the tournament starts. Obviously, we've had this run where we seem to really be gelling at the right time. In particular, with the Big Ten tournament, playing some pretty good teams, playing all of which are playing pretty well lately, and coming home with the trophy. I guess what I'm trying to say is, Morehead State, I think the spread was about 13 last time I checked.
Yeah, something right in there.
Do you see them as a 14 seed, or do you think they, are they underseeded? Are they overseeded? What do you think?
Um, oh, that's a good question. Maybe I could see them being slightly underseeded, or like I wouldn't have been shocked if they were a 13 seed. What were they? 26-8 on the year. They
Mhm.
did have a couple bad losses, which probably knocked them to the 14. But you know, aside from they lost 3 games in February. Other than that, the only teams they lost to were Bama, Purdue, Penn State, and IU.
Mhm.
So maybe
And the
slightly
IU game was
underseeded.
just a 1 point loss I saw, and
Yes.
I think they were winning with like 8 minutes left, according to what I was reading.
Yeah, that was that stretch where IU was just like every bye game that they had was just letting them hang in, and they won them all. But it was just like that was much closer than it should have been.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's again, it'll be a 2:10 start tomorrow. But I did notice the Purdue flag behind you, Joe. And, again, for those of you watching, hopefully this is a kind of a unification between Illinois fans and Purdue fans, at least, potentially until we meet in the final, national final.
Yep.
And man, Twitter will absolutely blow up if that were to happen.
Yeah, Twitter would shut down if that were to happen. That would be something.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for it. Like,
Let's talk about Purdue's, kind of path ahead, especially with Kansas's best scorer essentially going to be out. I really think, and I promise you, I'm not trying to jinx this. I'm trying to speak very objectively. The path is there for Purdue to get into that Elite Eight. Am I talking out of pocket?
no, and like so for full transparency, I I am a Purdue fan. I cover Purdue as well as the whole Big Ten. So like, I know there's all the beef between Purdue and Illinois, or not all. There's a select beef between certain fans on Twitter, whatever. I also love Illinois. Like Illinois is
Mhm.
probably my second favorite team to watch this year in the Big Ten. So with that getting out of the way, like the past there, and that if they get that TCU matchup in round two, if they win round one, obviously, which I have to throw in every time I talk about them now.
Yeah.
Um, that one could be a little bit of trouble, but the path's there. Like nobody really on that quadrant. I don't want to say doesn't worry me, but like I'm confident Purdue's better than all of them. I'm also confident that like I have said it all year. I really do think this is a different Purdue team than last year. Just with
So do
what
I.
Brain Smith can do, Edie's
Yeah.
even better than last year. You have more guard play, like they and just the shooting. Like last year, Purdue just literally couldn't shoot the ball. I mean, I have it literally ingrained in my brain, like Mason Gillis passing up multiple wide open threes in the game, the FDU game, just because like they couldn't shoot at that point. They're second right now, and the thing that makes me more confident with it is just that like because maybe they are shooting a little bit over their heads, right? Number two in the country in 3 point percentage, but they have so many guys that can shoot. It's I think like six guys that are shooting 40+% from three or something like that, or 38+%. Um, so all that said, it's March, and we all know what's happened the past three runs,
Yeah.
and so it's one of those you just like, especially this first round, whoever they play in the 16th seed, it's they are going to be miles better than. It is simply go out there and win. You have to do it. There's as much as I love breaking down the game and stuff. That's kind of the simple analysis for that one.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to roll the ball onto the court and just score more points than the opposition.
Yeah,
Let's just briefly talk about the other teams in the Big Ten and like what you think like their ceiling might be. Let's just start off with Wisconsin, who obviously Illinois was able to beat in the Big Ten tournament final. They were started off the season on fire. Holding first place for a while, and then they were kind of consistently in second place. And then February 1st hit, and they lost, I think, 4 of 5. But they seem to have kind of found the right time to start gelling. What are your opinions on them?
yeah. I think this first round matchup is a tough draw for them
It is,
with
yeah,
James
I agree.
Madison. Um, I would have been much more confident against probably a lot of the other 12 seeds that they could have had. Um, although it is a good group of 12 seeds this year. If they play like they did in the Big Ten tournament, they could easily make the Elite Eight. Um, I like I the Houston game would be really tough for them if Houston was to get there, but I think they could go far if they're playing the way they did in the Big Ten tournament. With that being said, that was like what 3 or 4 games that they did, 4 games, and then obviously they lost the last one to Illinois, and before that they had lost I think like 9 of their previous 12. It's going to come down to whether AJ Storr can something. It might be as simple as whether AJ Storr can just score. I think Chucky's probably more important overall to this team because of what he can do defensively, but
Mhm.
when Storr's hitting like that, that's the guy that can carry them and be like, all right, we just need a bucket. And that's where, I could see them beating Duke and then whoever's kind of in that Sweet 16 matchup. I'm not as confident that they could get to the actual Final Four with who comes out of the bottom, but it's there for them if they want it.
Let me circle back a little bit, just to what you just said. Do you think Illinois has a potential Final Four capabilities? I mean, talent-wise, I think so, but I mean, we have a gauntlet in that
Yeah.
Eastern region. That's going to be really, really tough. What do you think the ceiling for the Illini is?
This, I mean, if we're talking like absolute ceiling, it's they can win the whole thing. Like they have the firepower to do it. I'm not saying that they will,
Sure. Yeah.
but like it is for sure within the realm of possibilities that they could do it. Now, like you said, they do got a tough like path. Even like if BYU wins their first game in Illinois, that's going to be a tough matchup for Illinois.
Mhm.
And that one, like that one's where it would scare me of like I could, if BYU is this really good 3 point shooting team, they come out, they knock some down. What are they? Yeah, I mean, they're second. They over 50% of their shots are threes. Illinois gives up a ton of 3 point attempts, so that's just a
Yeah.
scary matchup. And then even if you win, there's a chance that you get Iowa State staring you
Right.
down. And then if you win that, it's could potentially UConn. And
Right.
so I think the path hurts them a lot. Um, but in terms of pure talent, right? You have Terrence Shannon, you have Marcus Domass, both guys, pro level guards where you can say, "Go get me a bucket." They can do that. You have enough surrounding pieces that can knock down a three, which is just kind of the name of the game at this point with them. Is make sure that there's enough spacing and then score. But um, I would be much more confident if if they play defense kind of the second half of Nebraska and Wisconsin, like if that was closer to their defensive base, I'd be much more confident. It's just been so sporadic on that end where it's just like at times they just don't, I don't want to say they don't care, but like that's the vibe it gives off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you there. Let's close it out with talking about what I think could potentially become America's tournament team, also in the Big Ten when it comes to Nebraska. And obviously, they've got Tominaga, who could basically, catch the attention of all of America.
Yep.
What do you think of Nebraska's chances advancing beyond this weekend?
So I think the first game against Texas A&M will be interesting as just kind of they're they're like similar teams but also not in the same way. Nebraska, you have Casey, and Casey can go for 30. Texas A&M, they have Wade Taylor who like he might have a greener light to shoot the ball than Keisei Tominaga, which is like wild to say, but some of the shots and he can make them too.
Hmm.
So they both have these high level scores, and then they just do things a lot differently. Like Nebraska is going to put up a ton of threes. Texas A&M is going to allow a ton of 3 point attempts, and then on the other end, like Texas A&M wants to try to work the ball in, and then the biggest thing is going to be in that game specifically is the rebounding. Texas A&M is the best rebounding team in the country on the offensive glass. What can Nebraska do there? But if they get by there, they're similar to Wisconsin for me. Like I don't know if I fully trust them getting to the Final Four out of because they're in that same top quarter of the bracket.
Hmm.
But Nebraska easily could be an Elite Eight team to me. Like
Hmm.
if K State gets hot, I've loved their defense a lot more lately, and that's their defense is why I think like they could match up with Houston. I think they're a team that can, and Houston is obviously built on defense, but Nebraska has the combination of enough shot makers and good defense that I think that they could go on a run. I don't know if I would necessarily pick it, but if we're talking pure ceiling, like I do think Nebraska and Wisconsin both. Aside from Purdue and Illinois, those are probably the two teams I'd be most confident in making a run in the Big Ten.
Well, this is my favorite time of the year, and folks like you actually make it a lot more enjoyable. Just because, it's nice to see the viewpoints of people much smarter than me. Joe, thank you so much for coming on today. Can you once again just let the folks know where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm Twitter at Joe Jackson CBB for a lot of film breakdowns and just stuff like that. And then my YouTube is Feed the Post, and that is fuller length film breakdowns, scouting reports. I don't know exactly what my plan is for like Thursday through Sunday content, but if Illinois wins, I would expect to put out an Illinois like film breakdown of their win over Morehead State, and then potentially some sort of preview for whether it be BYU or Duquesne. So yeah, I really appreciate you having me on. I always enjoy talking hoops, and especially around this time of the year.
Yeah, if we get lucky enough to make it past Thursday, I may hit you up again to see how you're progressing on that preview. So,
Okay,
Uh,
sounds good.
but yeah, thank you again, Joe, for joining us. Thank you guys all for watching. If you don't mind, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. About 60% of you guys who are watching this are not subscribed, or you may just be watching this and not realize you're not subscribed. Just hit that button. It really helps small content creators like us out. YouTube really doesn't pay attention to you unless you hit that 1,000 subs mark. So, once again, here we go. March, our favorite time of the year. We're all nervous. I know we are, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'll probably do a post game live right afterwards. We'll see. I'm going to have my 5-year-old and 3-year-old with me, but we'll see how that happens. And hopefully, we're all in a good mood. Until then, I'll see you guys later.